So, dear students, I welcome once again all of you in my online class. What I have given the name Vidyasis, and I'll try to begin from where we had left earlier. That is in Unit 1, we were discussing electrostatics, right? And electrostatics, as the name suggests, it deals about charges at rest and electricity produced by rubbing is called frictional electricity, and as the charges remain at rest called static electricity. What is electric charge? This is again a recapitulation of the things that we have done. Charge is a property of matter which is intrinsic property, and it is responsible for all the electrical behavior. They can be negative like in electrons or positive like in protons, right? But in matter they remain by equal amount. As a result, the matter remains electrically neutral until and unless it is charged, right? Like charges repel each other. So positive there will be repulsion, negative there will be repulsion, and positive negative there will be attraction, right? As I told, electric charge, it is a scalar quantity. SI unit of electric charge is coulomb. CGS unit is state coulomb. The relation between coulomb and state coulomb is 1 coulomb equals 3 into 10 to the power 9 state coulomb, right? Little bit of history. It was Dufay who talked about two distinct type of electricity. Then Benjamin Franklin gave the names positive and negative. Then Coulomb's law. We'll all discuss everything in detail. And as far as the recorded history goes, it was William Gilbert, one of the court physician to Queen Elizabeth I, who basically wrote or published in the book De Magneto all the experimental observations and facts of that time, that is up to 1600. And there he had mentioned two different type of charges, and the names he had given was Reginius and Vitreous. Later Benjamin Franklin, the American physicist, he named the Reginius as negative charges and Vitreous as positive charges. How can you define 1 coulomb of charge? 1 coulomb is defined as the charge which, when kept 1 meter apart from an equal and similar charge in vacuum, there is a repulsive force of magnitude 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton. 1 coulomb equal to 1 ampere into 1 second. What are the properties of charge? Conservation, that is charges, total charge of a system remains constant. Quantization, that is these are not continuous, quantized values are there, and any amount of charge can be expressed as Q equal to NE, where small n is 1, 2, 3 integral value. Additive nature of charge and invariance of charge, right? These all we have discussed already in detail. Conservation of charge, the total charge in a system is always conserved. Net charge can neither be created nor be destroyed, and charges can only be produced or destroyed in equal and opposite pairs, right? Total charge before and after any chemical, physical or nuclear type of reaction, total charge always remains the same. Quantization of charge in detail, the charge present in any body is always an integral multiple of fundamental charge small e, which is equal to the charge of an electron 1.6 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, and this n can never have fractional values, right? That is Q equal to plus minus may be there due to nature Ne, and this n is always an integer. Okay. Now it is found that in some cases there are some exceptions, particularly in particle physics. In case of quarks, we find that there are some fractional values for that n that I mentioned, that cannot be fractions, but in particle physics we come across values of n, 1/3 of e, 2/3 of e, right? Here I like to mention that here also the nature of quantization remains intact. Only the value of the fundamental charge, which was earlier small e, is now reduced to or changed to 1/3 of e. Everything else remains same. What are quarks? Quarks are basically the fundamental building blocks which make protons, neutrons, etc. There are six types of quarks, although I am mentioning here, but these things are not that much important for higher secondary students, right? However, yes, because it came as a reference here, I am just giving you one table which shows the comparative values of 6 different types of charges, I mean quarks. Then very important, the Coulomb's law, which is one of the most fundamental laws in physics. According to this law, the force of interaction between any two point charges is directly proportional to the product of the charge and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So if we take Q1 and Q2, 2 point charges separated by a distance R12, right? Then force of interaction, means maybe repulsion or attraction between them, is F12 equal to K, which is a constant, Q1, Q2, that is product of the charges, and R12 square. R12 is the distance and square. R12 cap is the unit vector which shows the direction of the force, right? So F equal to K Q1 Q2 by R square, where this K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, which is a value 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. Epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. Here all the discussions we are doing for free space. So the permittivity of free space is 8.86 into 10 to the power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton per meter square, right? The medium also plays a very important role. So when we'll place the charges in some medium, the value of the force will be changed, and the measure of that effect we call dielectric constant. We'll come to that. Now, if we compare the gravitational and electric forces between two charges, for example, if you take the case of hydrogen atom where only one proton is there and it is surrounded by only one electron which keeps revolving in its orbit. So if we take the Bohr radius, that is as per Bohr's model, the distance between electron and the nucleus 5.3 into 10 to the power minus 5.3 into 10 to the power minus 11 5.3 into 10 to the power minus 11 meter. Then and the charge of this proton and electron, which are equal and opposite, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 Coulomb, and mass of electron 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg, mass of the proton 1.7 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. Then if we compare, we can have a realization of the magnitude of these two forces. In case of gravitational force, the value comes out to be 3.6 into 10 to the power minus 47 Newton. And if we see electric force, the value comes out to be 3.6 into 10 to the power minus 8 Newton. So we can see from these two values that the electric force is much more stronger than the gravitational force. For the two particles, electron and proton, same distance, if we see gravitational force and electric force is much more stronger. It is nearly 10 to the power 40 times 10 to the power 39 to 40 times stronger than the gravitational force. Now the property that I was telling, which affects the force between two charges when we place it in a medium, is called relative permittivity or dielectric constant. It is defined as the ratio of force between two point charges separated in vacuum to the force between the same two charges separated by the same distance when kept in the medium. So if F0 is the force between two charges in free space in vacuum and Fm is the force between same two charges separated by same distance, then their ratio is called dielectric constant. So as it is a ratio, it is unitless, dimensionless, right? Okay. Now principle of superposition. This states that when there are a number of point charges, the net force on any one of the charge is equal to the vector sum of the forces due to individual charges. So if F12, F13, F14 are the forces on the charges 1, Q1, Q2, Q3, then the net force on any one, say charge Q1, is F1 equal to sum total of these all. Electric field. Electric field, qualitatively we can define is the region of space up to which the force, the electric force, can be realized, right? And quantitatively we want to know the strength of the field, so we define it as the force experienced by a unit positive charge placed at a point in an electric field. So in an electric field, if we want to know what is the strength of the electric field or what is the electric field intensity, then that is equal to F divided by Q0, where F is the force experienced by the charge Q0, right? And limit Q0 tends to 0 we have given because this should be as small as possible. Electric lines of forces are other concepts. These are imaginary lines such that the tangent to it at any point gives the direction of electric field at that point. So if we allow a unit positive charge to move in an electric field, the lines, the curves traced out by this unit positive charge is the electric line of force, right? And tangent to this gives the direction of electric field at that particular point. For example, if in a region of space the electric field is uniform, the electric lines of forces will be parallel lines, as we can see in the figure, the top figure. For negative charges, as the positive charge will be tending to move towards that, see the left figure, the electric lines of forces are moving towards that. For positive charge, electric lines of forces are moving away from that, right? Now, what are the properties of electric lines of force? They start from a positive charge and end towards negative charges. The most important property is the tangent to the electric lines of force at any point gives the direction of electric field at that point. They never intersect each other. The third property, it is more important, and in the exams also you will find questions. You will have to prove that why two lines of forces never intersect. So most important property, one of the most important property is that two lines of forces never intersect. They tend to contract longitudinally and expand laterally. They always enter or emerge normal to the surface of a charged conductor, because electric field cannot pass through a conductor. They are close together in regions of strong electric field and far apart in regions of weak electric field. This means in a region where there are more number of lines of forces very closely spaced, very close to each other, there the value, the strength of the electric field is more, and the regions where the electric field is, you will get less number of lines of forces very far apart, there the value of the electric field will be less. I think it is clear. Another important thing is electric dipole. What is an electric dipole? An electric dipole is a system of two equal and opposite point charges separated by a very small distance, right? The separation between them is called dipole length, and the product of this separation, that is the separation between two charges, that is the dipole length, and magnitude of either of the charges is called dipole moment. So what is dipole moment? Dipole moment, if there are two charges plus q and minus q separated by a distance twice l, then dipole length is twice l and magnitude of each of the charge is q. So dipole moment will be P equal to twice l into q. Now, if an electric dipole is placed in a uniform electric field, it is found that it experiences a torque. As we all know, torque is the rotational analog of force, and the value of that torque acting on an electric dipole is tau equals Pe sin theta, or in vector form we can write tau vector equal to P vector into E vector cross product, where P is the dipole moment and E is the electric field intensity. Now, how can you derive the relation? Very simple. Let us consider an electric dipole consisting of charges plus q and minus q at A and B are separated by a distance twice l, that is dipole length is twice l. Then force acting on the charge plus q at capital A is Fa equal to Qe, and the force acting on the charge minus q at B is Fb equal to minus Qe, right? These two forces Fa and Fb are definitely equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. However, they do not act along the same line. So what happens when there are two equal and opposite forces but they are not acting along the same line? Then what will happen? They will not cancel out each other. Rather, they will produce a torque, right, which will try to twist the dipole. That is, it will try to move the dipole, right? Now, what is the expression for torque? Torque will be equal to force into perpendicular distance. Tau equal to force F into arm of the couple, means perpendicular distance between two forces. So here, referring to the figure, tau will be equal to small q is the charge, E is the electric field intensity. So magnitude of force will be QE, the first term in equation 1, into AC. AC is the perpendicular distance. Now if we see the triangle ABC in this figure, triangle ABC you can see, right? So FA and FB we have said. Then what is AC? You see, what is AC? AC is the perpendicular distance. So that exactly tau is equal to QE into AC, and referring to that figure we can write sin theta equal to AC upon AB. That means AC will be equal to AB sin theta. That means AC will be equal to twice L sin theta, because AB is the distance between two charges or the dipole length, means twice L, and theta is the angle. So from equation 1 we can write tau equal to QE, remains the same, into for AC we can write in twice L sin theta. So tau equal to QE into twice L sin theta. That we can write Q into twice L into E sin theta. That we can write PE, because Q into twice L is P, the dipole moment, into sin theta. In vector form, now we can write equation 2 as tau vector equal to P vector cross E vector, right? Now, if the dipole remains aligned along the direction of the electric field, then theta will be 0. So obviously sin 0 and tau will be 0, right? So this much for today. I hope you will understand it and will be able to grasp the ideas. I think if any problem is there, then you let me know through WhatsApp and your comments. Thank you for watching.